Hey everyone! Welcome back to Globewise Entertainment, your ultimate hub for everything movies, entertainment, and Hollywood stories, from the greatest hits to the biggest flops. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button now and join our amazing community. Today we're diving into a wild ride through some of the worst movies the 1960s had to offer. Yes, those infamous flicks so bad, they've become legendary for all the wrong reasons. From baffling plots to laughably bad acting, these films are unforgettable, but not for the usual reasons. So stick around, and at the end we want to hear from you. Which of these terrible 60s movies did you find the most entertaining? Or the absolute worst? Drop your pick in the comments below. Let's get started with the top 10 worst movies of the 1960s. 1. Robot Monster, 1961 re-release. Robot Monster, the sci-fi flop that became legendary for all the wrong reasons. In a lonely corner of cinematic history, one movie dared to ask, what if the end of the world was caused by a gorilla in a space helmet? Welcome to Robot Monster, a film so bafflingly bad, it's become an icon of failure. Originally released in 1953 but re-released in 1961 during the sci-fi boom, Robot Monster was the brainchild of director Phil Tucker. The plot, if you can call it that, follows a boy who dreams he's one of the last survivors of Earth, hunted by the evil alien Roman, who's tasked with exterminating humanity. But Roman doesn't arrive in a slick spacecraft or robot armor. No, he's literally just a man in a gorilla suit wearing a diving helmet with rabbit ear antennas. Shot almost entirely in Bronson Canyon in Los Angeles with a shoestring budget, the movie tries to tackle deep ideas about identity, emotion, and humanity's survival, but it's drowned out by laughable effects, stilted acting, and a soundtrack that feels like it wandered in from another film. Worst of all, the entire story turns out to be a dream. A child's fever dream, to be exact. The film's lack of coherence, cardboard sets, and unintentionally hilarious dialogue like, I cannot, yet I must, turned it into a midnight movie favorite for all the wrong reasons. It's been mocked by MST3K, critics, and sci-fi fans for decades. And yet, Robot Monster lives on, not as a serious piece of science fiction, but as a monument to the charm of cinematic disasters. Sometimes a movie is so bad, it's unforgettable. 2. The Creeping Terror, 1964. In this notoriously awful sci-fi horror film, a mysterious spacecraft crash lands in a small California town. From it emerges a slow-moving, carpet-like alien creature with a taste for human flesh. As the monster slithers its way through the countryside, it devours screaming victims by simply crawling over them. The film is infamous for its laughable monster costume, essentially a giant rug with dangling hoses, and its bizarre use of off-screen narration. Due to poor audio recording, much of the film's dialogue was replaced with awkward voiceover that describes events instead of showing them. Despite being intended as a serious horror film, The Creeping Terror became a textbook example of what not to do in filmmaking. Its bad acting, amateur editing, and unintentionally hilarious scenes have made it a cult favorite among bad movie lovers. 3. Yucka, 1962. In the California desert, a teenage girl named Roxy and her father stumble upon a towering, ancient caveman named Yucka, who has somehow survived into modern times. After her father disappears, Roxy returns with her rock and roll boyfriend to search for him, only to get captured by the lovesick caveman himself. Yucka, who barely speaks and mostly grunts, takes a bizarre romantic interest in Roxy, leading to a painfully awkward love triangle involving a prehistoric brute. With cringe-worthy acting, hilariously bad dialogue, and awkward pacing, Yucka tries to be part monster movie, part teen romance, but ends up being unintentionally hilarious. Infamously, it includes a scene where Yucka sniffs Roxy's hair in a truly uncomfortable attempt at intimacy. Despite its failures, or maybe because of them, Yucka became a cult classic, even earning a spot on Mystery Science Theater 3000 for its sheer badness. 4. The Beast of Yucca Flats, 1961. In The Beast of Yucca Flats, a defecting Soviet scientist named Joseph Javorsky is caught in a nuclear explosion in the Nevada desert, and transformed into a mindless, murderous monster. Now a radiation-scarred beast, he wanders the barren wasteland of Yucca Flats, grunting and strangling innocent people. The film features almost no spoken dialogue, just awkward narration trying to explain what's happening. Poor editing, a disjointed plot, and amateurish filmmaking have made it infamous as one of the most incoherent and painfully dull horror films ever made. 5. Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, 1964. In a bizarre twist of holiday cheer and low-budget sci-fi, the children of Mars are growing restless. They're glued to Earth TV, watching shows about Santa Claus, and their alien parents decide it's time to bring Christmas to the Red Planet. The solution? Kidnap Santa Claus. Two Martian goons land on Earth, snatch Santa from the North Pole, along with two Earth kids who stumble into the chaos and whisk them away in a flying saucer. But even light years from home, Santa remains jolly, building toys and spreading laughter, even in captivity. Back on Mars, the green-skinned leaders grow suspicious. One of them, the grumpy Valdar, tries to sabotage Santa's toy-making ways, fearing his influence will make Martian kids soft. But Santa's charm and the spirit of giving prove stronger than interplanetary politics. In the end, the Martians realize they need their own Santa, and appoint a local Martian named Droppo to fill the red suit. Santa and the Earth kids return home, leaving behind laughter, goodwill, and one of the weirdest holiday films ever made. 6. Manos, The Hands of Fate, 1966. The horror that should never have happened. In this infamous low-budget horror film, a family gets lost on a road trip in rural Texas and ends up at a creepy lodge run by the bizarre Torgo, who takes care of the place while the master is away. But the master is no ordinary innkeeper. He's the leader of a sinister cult that worships a dark god named Manos. What follows is a painfully awkward descent into horror, with stiff acting, endless scenes of people just standing around, a completely out-of-place jazz soundtrack, and editing so bad it feels like a student film gone wrong. The monster? A guy in a robe with big red handprints. Created by a fertilizer salesman on a bet, Manos has become legendary, not for terror, but for being one of the most poorly made films of all time. It's now a cult favorite for fans of Sobodit's good cinema. 7. They Saved Hitler's Brain, 1968. In this bizarre Cold War-era sci-fi thriller, a group of neo-Nazi scientists managed to preserve Adolf Hitler's brain after his supposed death. Hidden away in a secret South American lab, the disembodied brain plots a comeback to lead the Fourth Reich and unleash a deadly nerve gas on the world. Government agents race against time to stop the fascist revival, but the film's low-budget effects, stilted dialogue, and awkwardly inserted extra footage make it a confusing and incoherent mess. With laughable pacing and a nonsensical plot, They Saved Hitler's Brain became infamous not for thrills, but for being nearly unwatchable. 8. Monster Aogo, 1965. Monster Aogo, 1965, is one of the most famously chaotic movies of the 60s. Originally started by director Bill Rebane, production was halted midway due to financial problems. Years later, another director, Herschel Gordon Lewis, known as the Godfather of Gore, was brought in to finish the film. But instead of fixing the story, he mostly added random new footage and narration, creating a confusing, disjointed mess. The plot itself is hard to follow. It involves a giant prehistoric monster accidentally awakened by a scientist's experiment. However, the monster barely appears on screen, and the storyline jumps all over the place without explanation. The movie is remembered for its bizarre pacing, inexplicable editing choices, and an abrupt ending that leaves audiences scratching their heads. It's so baffling and poorly made that it's become a cult favorite among fans of Sobodit's good cinema. 9. The Horror of Party Beach, 1964. The Horror of Party Beach, 1964. Movie story and why it's so bad. Imagine trying to mix two completely different movie genres, rock and roll beach party fun and monstrous horror creatures, and ending up with a film so baffling, it's hard to believe it was made. That's exactly what happened with The Horror of Party Beach. Set in a sleepy seaside town, The plot kicks off when a chemical waste spill from a nearby nuclear power plant contaminates the ocean. This radioactive sludge mutates the local sea life into grotesque, ghoulish creatures that begin attacking innocent beachgoers. Naturally, the town's teenagers are caught right in the middle, partying on the beach while weird monsters lurk underwater. The story centers on a young lifeguard and a scientist who team up to stop the terrifying creatures and save the town. Meanwhile, a group of teens form a beach band and perform goofy rock songs throughout the movie, completely interrupting any real suspense or horror. What makes the horror of Party Beach so famously bad? The special effects are hilariously cheap, think rubber monster costumes and poorly done underwater shots. The acting is wooden, the dialogue is awkward, and the editing often feels sloppy. The goofy musical numbers clash weirdly with the horror scenes, making the tone all over the place. It's like two movies mashed into one, but neither works. Despite, or maybe because of, its many flaws, the film has earned a cult following. Fans love it for its unintentional comedy and campy charm. But as a horror or beach party movie, it's widely considered one of the worst of the 1960s. 10. The Wild World of Batwoman, 1966. In the mid-60s, riding the wave of the massive success of the Batman TV series and movies, many filmmakers tried to cash in on the superhero craze. One of the most infamous attempts was The Wild World of Batwoman, a film that quickly earned its reputation as one of the worst movies of the decade. The story is a bizarre mix of spy thriller, superhero action, and low-budget camp. The titular Batwoman is not the DC Comics character you might expect. In fact, she's a completely different character with little connection to the beloved comic book heroine. Instead of fighting Gotham's villains, this Batwoman is a secret agent battling against a mysterious group of villains called the Carrot Men, who wear carrot-shaped masks and plot to control the world. Produced by notorious B-movie director Jerry Warren, The Wild World of Batwoman is infamous for its shoddy production values, terrible acting, and a script so nonsensical that even fans of campy films struggle to follow the plot. The movie awkwardly splices together footage from other unrelated movies to fill out its runtime, leading to a disjointed and confusing narrative. Special effects are practically non-existent, fight scenes are poorly choreographed, and the Batwoman costume looks more like a low-budget Halloween getup than a superhero's iconic outfit. Despite, or perhaps because of, its many flaws, The Wild World of Batwoman has earned a cult following among fans of Soboditska cinema. Ultimately, this film stands as a cautionary tale about cashing in on popular trends without the talent or budget to back it up, forever securing its place in the pantheon of the worst movies of the 1960s. And that wraps up our countdown of the top 10 worst movies of the 1960s. Truly some of the most baffling, hilarious, and unforgettable flops in film history. Whether you're a fan of campy classics or just love a good movie disaster, these films definitely left their mark. If you enjoyed this trip down cinematic fail lane, don't forget to subscribe to Globewise Entertainment for more deep dives into Hollywood's hits and misses, untold stories, and all things entertainment. Now it's your turn. Which of these movies did you find the most entertainingly awful? Or maybe there's another terrible 60s film you think deserves a spot on this list. Drop your thoughts and favorites in the comment box below. We love hearing from you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time with more fascinating movie content, right here on Globewise Entertainment.